I've been studying our Hebrew law my entire life, and I know a phony when I see one. You know, people always want to believe that that one guy has all the answers, and I just knew watching them in the streets chanting that they were ready to follow this guy away from the right way, the way that God had taught us to live. They treated him like a celebrity, and he was acting the part. But people like that, they always trip up sometime. Unfortunately, it was kind of a crisis by this point, and we didn't have the luxury of waiting around for him to pull some stupid stunt, like every politician does at some point. People were really, really starting to listen to him, which meant they weren't listening to God. It's our responsibility to make sure that the people are following God's way. Well, we talked about it and we decided we need to kind of, speed up the process of his political failure. We needed to help him discover his shortcomings. And more importantly, we needed to help the people discover his shortcomings. But we couldn't just come right out and denounce him. Have you ever been in a mob of fanatics? You don't want to give those crazies any reason to turn on you. And with all those people chanting and marching, the road into town was like Main Street after winning the big game last year. You better be a fan if you're going to be there. And if they had so much as guessed our motives, we would have been trampled in the streets. But we figured we could make short work of this guy. We are professionals at posing tough questions. It's sort of a spare time hobby. It's our expertise in this area that qualifies us for our leadership positions. If anyone has spent time debating and pondering the tough questions, it's us. So we knew exactly what to ask. We just asked him the questions that keep us up at night, and sometimes lead to screaming matches behind closed doors at the Sanhedrin. Money, well, that's a sensitive one, especially when it's wrapped up in politics, right? We all agree it's our right to pay our taxes. Taxes make our society work, right? But do we pay taxes to a government whose actions we detest? Any of you want to take a stab at that question? I couldn't believe this guy. What a slime bag. He just wriggled right out of it. What a politician. So we moved on to one that always stumps our students. I love asking them this one. Imagine this hypothetical situation. A woman following the laws of our nation and of our God legally marries 7 men in a row. So what happens in heaven? Does she have 7 husbands? There is nothing that disturbs people more than the idea of a woman with 7 husbands. People get so emotional about this one, and I've seen some pretty violent reactions. Well, this time, I have to say I was actually pretty impressed with his answer. Which of our students, who by the way have been studying for the law for years already and are pretty well experts at analyzing and synthesizing sources of law, which of them could have come up with an answer like that? Which of us even could have worded an answer to that question in a way that wouldn't have set someone off in the room? I looked around at the people milling around us. The people around the market had been half listening, curious as to what Jesus would say. But they had already lost interest. The man had diffused the whole situation. What the people probably didn't realize, there's no way they could have known. That answer not only avoided confrontation, but also showed incredible underlying knowledge of our law and history in the process. I felt bad for Nathaniel, the Sadducee who had drawn the short straw on that one. Before we ran into Jesus, not entirely by chance, we had carefully scripted responses based on what we thought Jesus' response would be. Our responses intended to draw Jesus' attention to Jesus' blunder and outrage the bystanders. But it didn't even apply anymore. Nathanael was just standing there, nodding slowly, left with nothing to say, jostled by market-goers brushing past him. Not that I could have done any better. I was nervous. Somebody must have been feeding this guy lines, telling him things that he had no business knowing, which, in my opinion, made him all the more dangerous.